Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the monthly series, webinar series of C3ihub IIT Kanpur. On behalf of IIT Kanpur, I welcome all elite panelists and all of you. My name is Ranjit Mishra. I work as a Chief Investor Relations Officer at C3ihub IIT Kanpur. Before wasting much time, I would like to focus on introduction of our elite panelists, basically. Today, we have a very interesting topic, cybercrime forensics and national need for indigenous tool. This webinar will be led by Prof Sandeep Shukla, who is Project Director for C3ihub IIT Kanpur. Let me first introduce each panelist. So we have Professor Sandeep Shukla, Program Director, C3ihub IIT Kanpur. We have Professor Triveni Singh, SP Cybercrime, UP State Police. Mr. Anish Roy, DCP Cybercrime, Delhi Police. Mr. Santosh Khatsare, Cyber Digital Forensics Professional Expert. Mr. M. Krishna, Assistant Director, Digital Forensics Division, Ministry of Home Affairs. Sandeep Shukla, who will be today's moderator for the webinar. Professor Sandeep Shukla is currently professor at Computer Science Department at IIT Kanpur. He was also HOD of Computer Science Department from 2017 to 2020. He completed his Bachelor of Engineering from Jadavpur University, Kolkata, Masters and PhD from State University of New York at Albany. He is a IEEE Fellow and ACM Distinguished Scientist. He was Chief Editor of ACM Transaction on Embedded Computing Systems during 2013-2020. He is currently Associate Editors of ACM Transaction on Cyber Physical System and Journal of British Blockchain Association. Before joining IIT Kanpur in 2015, he was a professor at Virginia Tech, USA. He served as a ACM Distinguished Speaker and IEEE Computer Society Distinguished Visitor in the past. He has authored over 200 peer-reviewed journal and conference paper and authored more than 10 books. In terms of awards and recognition, Professor Shukla has been awarded the Presidential Early Career Award in Science and Engineering in 2004, Bessel Award by Humboldt Foundation in 2009, a Distinguished Alumnus Award by SUNY Albany in 2007, he's a Ramanujan Fellowship in 2015, and his major interest area are cybersecurity of critical infrastructure and IT/OT systems, and application of blockchain technology in security and privacy. Our second panelist, we have Professor Triveni Singh, IPS. He is currently Superintendent of Police, Cybercrime, Uttar Pradesh. He is BA Economics from Allahabad University, MBA Finance from IGNOU, Diploma in Cyber Law from Government Law College, Mumbai, and PhD in Financial Cybercrime Management from MIT University. He manages administrative and technical supervision of 18 cybercrime police stations located all commissionerate in state of Uttar Pradesh. He's an expert in cracking complex cybercrime financial fraud cases and has wide exposure in investigating cases related to anti-corruption, vigilance, economic offenses, money laundering, and cybercrime. He has dealt with almost every type of cyber criminals and investigated more than 200 types of cyber crimes, followed by arrest of thousands of criminals using an intensive technical investigation process. He is known for his expertise in handling financial and banking frauds and also the resource person for various central investigation agencies and judicial bodies. He is more popular as cybercrime investigation specialist and widely known as Cyber Cop of India. Professor Triveni Singh has been awarded Police Medal for Gallantry by President of India. Our third panelist, Mr. Anish Roy. So Anish Roy is currently posted as Deputy Commissioner of Police, Cybercrime Cell at Delhi Police. He is BTech from IIT Kanpur, has worked for more than 14 years in the field of law enforcement in Delhi and Andaman Nicobar. Currently, Mr. Roy is heading the Cybercrime Unit of Delhi Police and was also responsible for functioning of their National Cyber Forensic Labs, part of Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center. He's undertaking various initiatives for detecting and prevention of cyber offenses in jurisdiction of Delhi, training and capacity building of investigation officer and intensive cyber safety awareness. Is design and develop financial fraud helpline 155260 and its backend platform. He was also Chief Information Security Officer of Delhi Police from 2016 to 2019, with a mandate to strengthen the cybersecurity setup of critical IT assets of Delhi Police. He was a nodal officer, Safe City project between 2016 to 2019 for Delhi Police, and successfully got close to 890 crores, which was a project conceptualized, designed, and approved from Government of India. He has executed the CCTNS project of Ministry of Home Affairs in Andaman Nicobar Island. We have next panelist, Mr. Santosh Khatsare. Mr. Khatsare is InfoSec and DFIR professional who specializes in digital forensics and presently heading a digital forensic lab in Delhi, in New Delhi. He is bachelor's in electronics and telecommunication and has additional qualifications such as CHFI, certified ethical hacker, RSCSA, IBTA, and advanced cyber forensic courses, and has done many other advanced cybercrime investigation officer courses from various institutes. Has 20 plus years of rich experience in the field of digital forensics, cyber law, information security, cyber audit, and incident response. Has been a speaker at various national and international conferences and authored various articles on information security and digital forensics in national and international publication. He was judged among the top 3 scholars during MDI ISAC National Cybersecurity Scholar Program for the year 2020 and was awarded the Best Innovative Paper titled The Role of Digital Forensics in Industry 4.0. Our final panelist, Mr. M. Krishna. Mr. Krishna is currently Assistant Director, Head of Department of Digital Forensic Division at Central Forensic Science Laboratory, Hyderabad, which comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. He's MSc from Osmania University, Hyderabad, MTech IT from Allahabad Agri Institute, and also PG Diploma in Cyber Law from Nalsa University, Hyderabad. Mr. Krishna is Certified Computer Incident Handler from SANS Institute, Certified Pro Discover Examiner from MS Tech Pathway USA, and Certified Computer Hacking and Foreign Investigation from EC Council. He has played key role in declaring CFSL Cyber Forensic Division as Center of Excellence in Cyber Forensics, notifying the laboratory as Examiner of Electronic Evidence under Section 79A of IT Act 2000. He is member in the Supreme Court Committee for drafting the guidelines and roadmap for videographing the scene of crime and its authenticity. He is recipient of Union Home Minister Award for contribution in computer forensics, mobile forensics, and Meritorious Service Award for his services in the field of computer and network forensics. He has successfully handled more than 1,000 computer crime cases and published various papers in journals in the field of computer forensics and mobile forensics. Without much wasting time, I would like to hand over the dice to Prof Sandeep Shukla, who is going to lead this panel. Prof Sandeep Shukla, over to you.
Thank you, Ranjit, for the introduction. And first of all, my gratitude and thanks to all the panelists for being here on a Friday evening. So it is a very distinguished panel, and we hope to get a lot of information, especially for entrepreneurs. So C3ihub is a technology innovation hub that is chartered to do not only research in cybersecurity, also produce industry strength projects that can be translated to industrial products. Also, it has a charter to incubate startups in the area of cybersecurity. Now, cybersecurity and cybercrime are related, but many times we see that a lot of cybercrimes happen not because of a cybersecurity attack, but because of social engineering of some kind, or people using cyber means, that is computer, mobile phone, messenger, email, etc. Now, what I found interesting is that on 19th April this year, Business Standard published a report that was based on the Norton's Cybersecurity Insight report. And in that it says that, of course, this was a sampling based survey. and 1,000 adults from India were surveyed. And according to that report, 59% of adults in India faced cybercrime in the last 12 months. 59%. That is every, 1 in 2, more than 1 in 2 people. And 7 in 10 said that they do not know how to protect themselves from cybercrime. And 27 million people, adults in India, had identity theft. Identity theft could be that somebody impersonate you on Facebook, somebody take over your page in Facebook by hacking your page, by somehow getting your password, by doing phishing and other stuff. And 2 in 5, that is 40% of people, felt that their privacy is not protected under the current situation. And then yesterday, there was a conference at the BPRD, and there we came to know from the additional secretary of the Home Ministry that 60% of the cyber frauds reported to the cybercrime.gov.in portal are financial crimes. And it turns out that 5.5 lakhs reports, crime reports, cybercrime reports have been filed in the last several years, I think starting from 2018, and 30% of them have FIRs associated with them. And also, yesterday we came to know that so far in last 3 years, 12 crores of defrauded money has been repatriated, found by the I4C, that is the Home Ministry's cybercrime unit. So with that, it seems like cybercrime is almost hitting each and every person. If it has not hit you yet, that means that you might be the next target. And this creates a lot of problem for law enforcement, because if the number of crimes is so high, the capacity of doing forensics, capacity to actually solve the crime, tracking the criminals, etc., becomes very challenging. And also, in certain cases, we see a lot of the crimes that are happening in the dark web. Some crimes are happening through cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., such as ransomware attacks. Only last week, a student, PhD student, came to us saying that she downloaded a software, cracked version of software, which we always discourage people to do, but she did, some graphing software, and then her entire disk, including her thesis work, were encrypted, and she was asked to give an amount of equivalent of Bitcoin that is not within her capabilities. Similarly, we got reports from other small businesses that have been hit by ransomware. So ransomware is a big one. Crypto fraud, spamming, and the scamming of people through various offerings to make money through crypto is on the rise. We also see one of the biggest challenge is the child pornography selling in the dark web through cryptocurrency. We also see various kinds of other frauds through cryptocurrency, especially in some cases somebody blackmails you for saying that they have some incriminating evidence or some kind of an embarrassing videos of you, and therefore you have to pay them through cryptocurrency. So there is a huge number of different scams and different kinds of frauds that goes on. Now, in our company today, we have 4 very distinguished panelists who are actually handling such crimes. So we academics don't really handle these crimes, nor they actually solve these crimes. using various methods and tools and law enforcement activities, coordinating between different law enforcement jurisdictions. Therefore, they are the experts. Now, the main reason why we are organizing this panel is because we have this startup program, incubation program of C3ihub, and the startup program first cohort had 13 recipients of funding for incubation. And the second cohort call for proposals is launched, and it is due on 15th of this month, which is 5 days away, but it may be extended if we decide to do so. But the point is that so far we have not received any proposals from these young or experienced entrepreneurs in the field of cyber forensics or tools for cyber crime solving. And today I saw a report on the cybercrime webzine called the 420. It talks about, I think it quotes Professor Triveni Singh, and it talks about the need for indigenous cyber forensic tools and cyber crime solving tools. And therefore, it makes sense that we hear from the experts the need for such tools and how the entrepreneurs can actually help or get on board to help the law enforcement agencies to meet the requirements for these tools. Now, there are tools that are of foreign provenance, and obviously they are very expensive, and oftentimes, they have features and stuff that are often, not necessarily very clear, and therefore indigenous tools, indigenous companies can actually make things better in my view. And therefore, let's hear from the experts. So the way I want to do this is that first I will ask the experts to give a 3-minute pitch on what they, from their vantage point, what are the major cyber crimes they're seeing, and what are the difficulties with those cyber crimes. And then I will have some specific questions on what tools they use and what kind of tools they are in their wish list, etc. But that will come later. So the first, I would request them to give their 3-minute each, speech on what kind of cyber crimes they're facing, what are the crimes they're able to solve, and what are the crimes that are resistant to solving. So I'll start with Professor Triveni Singh first.
Yeah, thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Sandeep ji, IIT Kanpur, because they have given this opportunity where academia, industry, entrepreneurs, and law enforcement agency are on the same board, and they are discussing really emerging, technical, and definitely we are going to talk about some administrative and legal challenges as well. As far as nature of crime is concerned, you can see that we are getting lots of cases related with ransomware attack. AI enable, tools like deepfake technology they are using to create the synthetic image. Recently, we have seen a few cases in which ATM were compromised by sophisticated malware, and it happened not at 1 or 2 places. It happened all around India. Sophisticated malware, they somehow got physical access to the ATM, and then the ATM machine started vending out the money. It was in crores, Yeah. So this kind of cases we are getting, highly sophisticated cases we are getting. So my opinion is that now we need to do some R&D in cyber forensics. Cyber forensics is not limited only to do the image analysis or getting image and doing analysis. I mean, mobile forensic and disk forensic. it's expanding the horizon. If I have to do the forensic of ATM machine, you have to do the data analytics and huge database coming from banking and internet and ISP and hosting service provider. So we need different kinds of tools and technology, and that's why I always said that there should be there's a focus on research and development in these domains, which are current need of the law enforcement agency. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Triveni Singh. Ranjit forgot to mention that there is a web series coming up based on Mr. Singh's crime solving. It's called the Cyber Singham. So I guess it refers to Professor Singh as a lion of cyber. So I would request now Mr. Anish Roy to tell us about his viewpoint.
Thank you, sir. Continuing further with what Professor Triveni Singh Saab has said, I would like to broadly inform the audience that you see cybercrimes have seen an organic growth as well as inorganic growth. Organic growth because people have moved to digital media for all their major activities, and inorganic because there have been, episodes and incidents such as COVID, which actually gave a huge spur to internet-related activities, and a lot of people who had to, join the digital platforms, though they were not very comfortable with how to handle it. And that led to, in fact, people becoming victims because they were not aware of, the pros and cons, the threats that were there, and how to secure themselves. So that led to major spurt in cyber crimes that we saw in 2020, and it is continuing in 2021 rather. So there is a lot of growth in cyber crimes, and therefore the need for digital forensics. In addition to cyber crimes, we forget that sometimes we forget that in addition to cyber crimes, digital forensics not only covers cyber crime, but it also covers conventional crimes where digital devices are involved. So almost in every type of investigation that we are seeing these days, invariably there is a smartphone which is involved. In any street crime, or rather any crime, you have an investigation which is centered around CCTV footages. Then we do a lot of analytics over storage devices, which are static in nature, but they are available on the crime scene. So a lot of, and then if a crime is an organized crime that involves some money trail, some kind of laundering is happening, then we come into crypto-related investigations and so on and so forth. So digital forensics or forensics involving, digital trails, it pertains not only to cybercrime, but to all type of crimes. So we have to factor in that while we talk about cyber forensics, digital forensics. We should not only focus on cybercrime, but enlarge our canvas to include all types of crime. Then the new trends that we are seeing, as Professor Triveni Singh Saab has already stated, I would like to add to that now the proceeds of crime are moving through crypto. We are seeing it in the case of crimes which are emanating from outside the country. Then another trend that we are seeing is that cyber crimes, they are becoming more automated. So now that social engineering that we normally see, that social engineering actually involved a human element on the other side also, and he actually tricked into the victim's mind. Now this entire criminal process, or the process to cheat or to deceive, it has been automated. So now there are applications which actually trick a person to believe into a fraudulent investment scheme, and then they make investments into that. The propagation is also automated in a sense that the app actually copies all the contacts and sends them links of that malicious app, and so other people also become victim to it. Then the payment processes, they have been automated to a large extent by using payment gateways, virtual accounts, and so on and so forth. Then a lot of these automated frauds, they are using advertisements on social media or digital platform where they embed their, maybe intent link of a UPI payment app into that particular ad. And once a person sees that ad and taps into it, automatically that intent leads to UPI payment app opening with a pre-fed amount. And the ad, since the ad was about getting a bonus back related to some wallet transaction, so a person is tempted to tap on that amount, believing that this is coming to me, but ultimately the amount gets debited from his account. So these things were earlier being done, or even now they are being done by a person sitting behind that particular device. The person could be sitting in Mewat, he could be sitting in Jamtara or anywhere. But now we are seeing that all this process is being shifted towards automated processes. And what they're using are applications, servers, digital advertisements to push the content to the intended users selectively, and so on and so forth. So automation of cybercrime is something which is very worrying, not only because it enlarges the scope and the extent of these frauds and crimes, but because once it is automated, the number of crimes that will happen will be beyond the comprehension of law enforcement. So we won't be able to actually address the magnitude of this crime. And definitely a large number of people will be becoming victims. So we need to focus on addressing these challenges through various means, including digital forensics. So I will close my initial comments with that.
Thank you. Let's request Mr. Sandesh Khadsare. Same question.
Good evening to all of you. Firstly, I would like to thank IIT Kanpur for actually giving this opportunity, because it's a very interesting and important topic which has always been neglected. A lot of topics people speak around cybersecurity and crime, but digital forensic, that also about indigenous technologies, is a very rare to find. Now let me start with one thing. The picture is very gloomy in this particular field. Right, as the two law enforcement officers just rightly brought out the various kinds of cybercrime which are being developing with the development of new technologies at a rapid pace. I want to start by telling you, forensic tools cannot replace the investigator, but they can make him more efficient. That's what I would like to say. Let me give you an example of it. Just last week, I got a call from one of the person who was actually carrying out VAPT on a very big company, in a very big company. Suddenly, while carrying out VAPT, his all the systems started getting infected with the ransomware, and he and his team did not know what to do. And they did not follow proper procedures and you can say forensic readiness, and the whole company had to do away with the databases which they already had. I'll keep it there only. The second thing which I would like to tell you from a second short case study is we went for a forensic investigation in a bank fraud. And while carrying out forensic analysis or forensics, initial preliminary forensics, we found that the equipment which was used was of hybrid type. There were no tools available to actually extract or do forensics on a hybrid kind of environment where you had solid state devices, and also we had, you can say, the old legacy disk devices which were incorporated in a single machine, on a single, you can say, entity as such. Last but not the least, let me tell you one more very small case study, because case studies give a clear picture of what's really happening around us. I being a member of one of the Indigenous Development Tool Program, visited an entity who was actually carrying out Indigenous Tool Program. And when on the first instance, we found that that entity itself was using some other tools instead of using its own tools. So you can imagine, that's why I started with saying that the picture is very gloomy when we say about indigenous digital forensic development, but there are some, you can say, ray of hope. Now, let me add on to what Mr. Triveni Singhji and Mr. Roy said. Now, if you see when we speak about forensics, forensics, we address two kinds of, forensic cases. One is that which are related to a cyber incidents like bank frauds or something related to cases related to ransomware, deepfakes, or financial frauds, right? Or attack on CIIs, critical information infrastructure. The second category is which we, in the support of law enforcement agencies, with the lab support, maybe the espionage cases, cases related to drones, cases related to satellite phones, cases related to national security. So there are two different types of supports which a lab actually gives to this particular the environment as such. Now, speaking of crimes have already been mentioned, but let me tell you how the evolving technologies have been impacting. Now we have cases related to cloud, network, IoT, SCADA, automotive. I can just go on and on speaking of the new verticals which are sub-branches which are coming into the digital forensics. Now, being a very niche field, it's a very niche field of forensic science. Tools are getting outdated, right? And there's a dire requirement of having the tools which can actually support the investigations and support the different verticals which are emerging due to the new technologies which are evolving. And let me tell you that the Indigenous Tools development program is behind or nearly missing. I'll quote it. Sorry for being a critic, but unless until we don't accept there's a problem, we'll not find solutions to that problem. That's what I feel. Right, and there are a lot of issues. To end up, let me tell you about the report which was just issued by a research agency. I'll not mention that, but there, when you go to a forensic lab, there are more than 50% failures. I can speak from my experience of last 20 years in forensic labs, and the backlogs, the failures, the problems, they are piling up. And the only solution is to getting a proper support in form of tools. And so that we can address the law enforcement officers have mentioned this, so that we can empower these people, the law enforcement officers who are the front ends, and in solving the cases, actually we can be an enabler rather than actually delaying their cases and making posing problems to them. I'll keep it short. I have exceeded my 3 minutes. Thanks a lot. Maybe I'll talk later. Thank you very much.
All right. So in this round, Mr. Krishna, can you say a few words?
Yes, sir. First of all, I thank you, the IIT Kanpur and Shukla ji, and very good evening to everybody. And what I feel is this is the first time where the forensic laboratory is brought into a limelight like this panelist, and opportunities provided to express themselves what are the difficulties they are facing at the laboratory level. Sir, cybercrimes are transnational in nature, and it has happened at somewhere in that the same thing can happen everywhere in the globe. Okay. And now the people, the society is very much utilizing the technology and getting the benefits of this technology, and the side effects of this technology is the cybercrimes what we are facing today. So, and everybody, as you said, sir, everybody is one or today experience the cyber attacks. Not only the individual level, the organizations, governments, and the individual levels are going to face this problem. Like in the pandemic, we said that everybody get the infection of the coronavirus, and who gets the immunization and they are safe. Similarly, likewise, the people who are little bit vigilant about themselves and their cyberspace utilization, they will be a little safer than the others. So the the forensic level, sir, the laboratories are really facing a lot of problems in getting the tools and solving the problems. And CFSL Hyderabad is the first laboratory to be opened, the cyber forensics unit way back in 2000. And from 2000 onwards, we have been fighting to improve the facilities and improve the technologies, improve the quality of the report and everything. And the CFSL Hyderabad is the first laboratory to be notified in the central laboratory to be notified as a section, a government examiner of electronic evidence as per the requirement for the section 79A of the IT Act. So, sir, the forensics tools were a little bit of expensive in nature, which we are using. Most of the tools are developed at elsewhere countries and importing here, and most of the state forensics laboratories are not in a position to acquire those things, and are feeling very at the low stage. So definitely they are in need of indigenous tools who can understand our problems basically, And one more thing, sir, as Katsare sir and Triveni sir told, for procuring the tools, not only the solution for that, but maintaining those tools up to date of today's technology is more important, sir. So suppose if I procure one tool and the license is valid for 1 year, and I'll get the updates for only 1 year, sir. After that, I need to spend more on the same tool as a renewal of the updates and all those things. And most of the laboratories are not in a position to update those tools for the updation of techniques and developments in the market technology. So basically, indigenous tools were very helpful to the country, and it can be provided at affordable prices to the state governments and central government laboratories as well. So at this moment, I feel that indigenous tools, somebody has to come forward, sir. Basically, the problem is the academic institutions, that R&D institutions, and the laboratories are segregated away, and nobody is trying to understand their own problems, sir. And I thanks to the IIT Kanpur that you come forward to say something about the indigenous tools, and it is very much helpful to the digital forensics laboratories, and it will be available at the affordable prices, so that every laboratory can come up with their own facilities to solve the cybercrime, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Krishna. So let me ask you, so suppose we get some applications for incubation of some forensic tools. Can we count on you guys to actually mentor them? Because they wouldn't probably know what exactly you always need.
Yes, sir. Why not? A lot of problems is there, sir. We have been fortunately, I'll try to say include one thing, that the CFS Hyderabad is awarded a National Cyber Forensics Laboratory project, and as a part of the project, we have been in talks with the IIT Hyderabad. Basically, very recently we had an IIT Hyderabad, and they are also shown their interest to come to the laboratory and explore what are the problems and try to provide some solutions. And at the later talk, I'll give some more inputs how the IITs can help in improving the quality of the reports in forensic laboratories, sir. All
right, thank you. So my next round of question is about actually about these tools. So I will ask everybody, all the speakers in turn, the tools they actually have currently. One thing that we have noticed is that if it is a foreign tool, many times the company in India, the application engineers are not fully familiar with the proper use of the tool, and then you don't get much help. They then connect you to their foreign counterpart or some developers from the foreign country. Now, I'm not talking about forensic tools, but the other tools that we are experienced with. So what happens is, in case of cybercrime, etc., I assume that you cannot really share many things with a foreign developer of that company sitting thousands of miles away. So what is your experience in terms of these tools that are coming, that you are procuring from foreign companies, and what is your experience in terms of support and in terms of training? Sometimes it requires training. So what kind of are you facing, problems are you facing? So let's start with Mr. Santosh Khatsar.
Okay, firstly, let me tell you that firstly, yes, the tools which are being procured globally, any forensic lab, before selecting a tool, whether it's a local or global tool, it looks into the, you can say, how it is going to support his particular kind of investigations. Like in my perspective, whenever I try to get a tool, I don't look whether it's an Indian or a foreign tool if I'm going to get objectives. And if, for example, if the baseline or the golden parameter is met, for example, any tool which has met the CFTT program of NIST, that is Computer Forensic Tool Testing Program, so that is a tool which I can go for. Yes, there is a problem when you say that where the integrators who are there, who provide you such kind of infrastructure or service, they may be not skilled enough to support you and they connect you back. But so be it. Being in labs, you are able to actually address those kind of issues, and those issues are very minimal issues. Means they can be looked after. The most important is that whether do we have the, you can say, similar counterpart in the indigenous environment. That is more important, because me as a forensic investigator, I'm more concerned in solving my problem than rather deciding whether it's an indigenous or a tool which is from some other part of the world, right? That is one aspect. Secondly, the problem is that regarding, you just mentioned regarding whether connecting, we don't ever give our cases to any of the tool makers or the OEMs. It never happens that way, and it should never happen also in a laboratory size way. The main thing which I feel is that you should have a proper tool who can address the issue, and it should be globally accepted, because now this cyber crimes are a global phenomenon. So it should not happen that what tool you use, and what procedure you use do not match the, you can say, the judiciary across the globe. So these are various factors which at least I keep in mind, or most of our people, or brothers, or who I can say experts in the forensic lab, who keep in mind before deciding on what tool to take and how to go about addressing the problems which are there with us. Thank you.
So let me ask now Mr. Triveni Singh.
Yeah. Let me give you one example. Once I was investigating a case of 3,700 crore. It was a huge scam. Or there was a server, then since we were lacking in expertise and tools, we outsourced it to third party, and they took more than 1 month to create the image backup of the whole server, and then another 6 months to submit the report. So that is the skill set that is the right now in India, because if such an important case, such a big case, it's taking 6 months to get the entire analysis to be submitted to the courts. Really, it's a matter of concern. Right now, what we are doing, we are more dependent on importing cyber forensics tools. In 90% of the cases, we were using those tools. It's fine. We should do it, but I always say that there should be some focus on indigenous products, because I have seen several products. One company from Noida, another from Mumbai. They are doing good in. They have created a good workstation. If I'm talking about government agencies, CDAC, Trivandrum, so they have good portfolio of cyber forensic, be it hard disk, be it mobile, even malware analysis tool, network forensic. They are having. They have their presence in each and every domain related with forensic. I just in the morning I was talking to someone. He has created such a beautiful product in disk forensic, and that company is located in Hyderabad. So my submission is that if IIT is partnering with us, they understand our need. If something is manufactured, something is produced in India, then in the real-time basis we can get their support. Otherwise, what Shastri told, it's a matter of AMC, and it's a matter of huge burden. The AMC event that costs 90%, 70% of the cost of original product. So this is a big problem in government procurement policy, because again we need to process the file, and it will take years, and until then that goods becomes useless for us. So in most of the laboratory, most of the utility tools which we purchase, is spending crores of rupees, there is lying unused because of AMC and this technical issue. That's why you say that we should do something. There are lots of center of excellence in technology domain. There are so many IITs and other centers as well. They should focus on this event, because that is the legal need of India. Each and every case we need the electronic evidence, and you have to do the analysis and then produce on the. It's a huge domain. IIT, I expect from IIT to focus in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anish, is he there?
Yes, I am very much here. Because of network issues, I am not going to get my video started.
Sure.
So, sir, we run a lab. It is a National Cyber Forensic Lab for investigators as part of I4C of MHA. And this lab was started in 2019 And I'd like to inform the audience that over the last 2 years, and most recently, like last 1 year rather, we have been able to process more than 2,700 cases of digital forensics analysis for various law enforcement agencies across the country, including central agencies. And our premise is that we provide under one roof the entire gamut of forensic tools that are needed for investigation purposes in every possible domain. So wherever the digital evidence is lying and it is needed by the investigator during the early stages of investigation, we intend to have a tool for taking out that evidence. Now, digital evidence, if we broadly categorize it, the mainstay of digital forensics and digital evidence lies in the mobile phone and the hard disk or the memory. So memory forensics and mobile phone forensics are the two main domains. We as NCFL, we provide entire range of tools that are there available and which give standard replicable results, and we provide them to the investigating officers. So we don't differentiate whether this tool is open source or it is a proprietary tool or it is foreign made, till the time that it is allowing me to get the digital evidence out of that device or wherever it is lying. In addition to memory and mobile phone forensics, we have the entire gamut of tools for network forensics, malware forensics, cloud-based forensics. Now we have crypto-related analytics. We also do a lot of image and video enhancement and audio analytics. Then we also handle cases where the digital device, mostly mobile phones and the hard disk, they have been damaged and data cannot be extracted through conventional means. So we have a lab that caters to that. So the question that what type of tools we are using, whether they are indigenous tools or they are foreign made tools, I think that question is not relevant for end users like us, because we intend to have whichever tool that can help me get the answers. We are not, we provide the requirement, we provide the specifications, and based on that, whosoever offers a tool, we go by it and we buy them based on what the government has given in the form of rules like the general financial rules. So the lowest bidder will be chosen, whosoever that person is. So this is how we operate as startups. You need to understand that you need to provide some value addition, some service to your client, which in most cases will be law enforcement agency. If you're doing that, irrespective of the price, it doesn't mean that if you're a startup, you should always quote less or you should provide tools which are very cheap. You see, government per se has no issue of funding till the time that you are offering something which is worth the money that you are asking for. So the startup should also realize that they should look for all type of services, all types of value addition that they can do with the data and provide something which is of which gives a tangible outcome to the law enforcement. If they're doing that, I think their product will be a success. It will be taken up by all the law enforcement agencies, all the forensics lab, and they should not bother about the cost. They should give a product which is it is not only giving the output, but rather it is giving the output by optimal utilization of resources in terms of human resources, in terms of time. And the presentation also matters, because you see, as law enforcement, especially in an era where the amount of data that we are processing in every case, it is growing by leaps and bounds. So getting the data extracted, analyzed, and presented in a manner which is more easy to understand for the law enforcement, because law enforcement forensics is one aspect of the investigation of the law enforcement officer. It is not the ends, it is the means to reach the end. So the person has to realize, the startup entity has to realize that whatever it is giving, it should be providing a channel where you can the investigating officer can take the investigation forward. And that is how the product should be developed. So it should be user-friendly, it should be easy to understand, the interface should be intuitive. So all these things are very important, in addition to the fact that the tool is doing something which is very unique or very important. So this is my take on that.
Okay, thank you. I think the next question that I have, and I'll start with Mr. Krishna, is that suppose we have 5 new startups of people who are good software developers and have some study of what forensic needs, like creating images, doing booting a virtual machine from the images, or scavenging the logs, or get files from deleted portion of the disk, or things like that. Or they might be interested in cryptocurrency analytics to figure out the trail of money, or they might be interested in dark web analysis and various other things. So my question here is that if I have only 5 people coming forward, what would be your wish list for them to actually develop first?
Sir, for the startups, my advice is, sir, so most of the laboratory persons now are very much acquainted with the foreign tools. And if any new tool comes into the way, as Anvesh sir said, that it should be a graphical user interface, very understandable, and everybody can do it. So what I suggest to the new the startups is, you first study what are the lacunas available. No tool is perfect in its nature. I think you'll understand very well. Even if it comes to the laboratory level, no single tool, there's no silver bullet type of things which will solve every problem of the cyber forensics, right? We need to have a different types of tools and the right job for the right tools or type of things, sir. Now, if any startup is coming forward, they should find out what this tool is doing what, and is it there any lacunas in that, and the people and this startup are able to climb up those lacunas in that nature and say that the existing tool is this, its capabilities is this, my tool is doing more than much better than that. And if they can able to show the results, I will be impressed. Yes, the previous tool what I'm using is not providing this sort of facility, and the new tool is coming up with the same facilities, and above that some extra it is giving. So I'll be inclined to buy that particular tool and try to learn about these things. So if both of them are doing the same job, then I'll think that why should I buy a duplicate of the tools? One is, though it is indigenous and foreign tool, but the job function wise it is doing the same thing. So what is the necessity of going for it? So I'll be discouraged to buy that. Even the government also may not be in a encouraged position that why you are doing this when it is already existing and nothing extra is coming out of it. So I feel that is best, sir. But my future, by my what I feel that in future that we have so much of solutions, sir. Cybercrime as a solution, as a service, software as a service, platform as a service has come. In future, I think that the digital forensics also may come as a service. So I'm seeing that there is a term called DFAS, digital forensics as a service. So it may come in future, and everybody can compete for the better quality reports to be available for the law enforcement agencies and the courts of law. So they can come up with these things, sir. And in this particular issue, I wanted to tell one thing to the forum here. The forensic laboratories has got abundance of crime data, sir. Okay, so one hard disk comes to me, the cyber forensics tells that you are not supposed to work on the original media. So I do the image or the clone of that thing, and my original is intact as such, and I'm working on the image and clone copy. So in my laboratories pile up with so much of hard disk like that, but that crime data is nobody is using it. What I feel is today's evidence is tomorrow's intelligence for the law enforcement agencies. If this particular database is converted into any structured manner, and by way of making a big data analysis on that, and we could able to get is actionable intelligence for the law enforcement agencies to use it in future. And if IIT Kanpur comes forward and we are ready to develop such facilities, the huge amount of data is laying there and nobody is using it. Suppose sir, if you take the statistics wise, the crime perpetrators are same, only 2 or 3% of the perpetrators may be imbibing into the streamline, but most of them are same criminals are doing the similar type of job. So at one place some sort of crime has occurred and we know the modus operandi of that and the persons are unknown. So utilize this database to find out the modus operandi of the future crime and try to concentrate on those people. Maybe quickly the crimes can be solved. So I prefer that if IIT Kanpur comes forward for for artificial intelligence, machine learning and big data analysis, by cooping up all these data into one place, I hope it will be a best job can be given to the law enforcement agencies for quickly solving the problems.
So kind of like predictive criminology.
Yes, sir. It's a preventive forensics.
All right. So, Mr. Santosh, what would be your top five wish list?
Okay, like Mr. Krishna has brought out few issues. What I would just put in mind, if someone is ready to provide me say a high-end forensic workstation, which I'm buying for, and say 5x, and he's giving me an X with the same features, I'll of course go for it. They are imaging hardware tools which cost say 3x, and I'm 100% sure it can be made in 1x amount, then I'll 100% goes for it, because that doesn't require anything. But let me tell you one thing, we actually going the wrong track. You know, it's very easy. I am 100% sure, like Mr. Triveni Singh ji, a very close friend and guide of mine, means he knows me for years. They have indigenous companies which have developed high-end forensic workstation analysis tools, hardware write blockers and all. The problem is that they are not, you know, they are not vetted or standardized. Someone has to standardize them, like a CFTT program I mentioned. It's a global accepted program. If we don't accept the program, make our own program. But we have to have some standardization and acceptability pan world, you know. It's not just of making tools, or it's not about the cost. Cost is not a factor. Cost, as rightly brought out by Mr. Roy, that yes, whatever gives us the result, we'll go for that. But indigenous tool has to be supported. Indigenous tool has to be matched with the global standard. Cost will, yes, it will, of course it will matter. The support, of course, it will be good, because it will be from indigenous companies and the people who are there, which is more important when we go to the courts. Right. So that there can be hardware. Hardware is a very big area where there can be there can be support from the startups. I know it's a very big investment as such. Now coming on to other technologies, like for example, in my lab, I can at least give you 15 to 20 projects which are required at this moment of time. For example, I said a simple concept like forensic notes. I require a time-stamping tool which can actually help the investigating officer from the seizure till it comes to the lab. He just clicks a picture, the time is incorporated, he takes a video, it gets incorporated, he makes some notes, it gets incorporated, it becomes a default chain of custody form. And if you incorporate blockchain into it, it becomes a more integrated and widely or worldly accepted tool. Second is regarding the other tools, like analysis tool, like one of the tools which has been mentioned by Mr. Triveni Singh. I also saw that tool. It's a wonderful tool, but this particular tool has to be given for, you know, vetting, for testing, for given during the trainings, given during the, you can say, online courses. And these things have to be done. It's not about only development. Everyone will come out with something. And what I have seen is, you know, doing R&D is different, and actually making, means, you know, just cannibalizing and having a quote, like having a flavor of a tool is different. So we should have core R&D and core tool. There are many concepts which are yet to evolve. Like concept, like even someone can, I mentioned about blockchain technology in chain of custody, blockchain technology in timestamping. If you can have tools, for example, for the new advanced sub branches like IoT Industry 4.0 is going to be a big thing, where the problem is not about anything else, but the problem is of evidence loss, evidence evaporation in case of SSDs, solid state devices. How integrity can be maintained, how it can be proved to the court. So concepts are there, tools are not there even globally. And if you want to make a tool which already exists in the global market, yes, cost will be the factor, but validation is more important and standardization is more important. One more thing I would like to tell you, there can be projects where there are so many, we speak that they are international foreign tools and we say so on and so forth. Very well, we should have our own indigenous, and I'm strongly for it. We should have our own indigenous line. We can also that now, since they are already in the market, most of the laboratories are using, the investigators are using. Why can't there be someone like Mr. Krishna just pointed out towards the direction I saw? Why can't we have integration of those tools which can be done in the lake form? I think CDAC is working on this project, if I'm not wrong. So this integration of the tools to give you a desired indigenous result can also be one kind of a, you can say, initiative which can be run. If I have 4 tools giving 4 analysis tool giving me 4 types of result, if they can be incorporated and because they are all proprietary tools, none works with the other unless and until it's an open source tool or it's in the raw form or something like that. So integration of tools can itself be a tool which can be used pan-India, globally also, and it can be give a form of startup. I have many ideas, but I'll cut it short because other panelists also have a lot of ideas, I'm 100% sure, who can help this particular vertical to go high. Thanks.
Mr. Triveni Singh? Is it there?
Hello. Am I audible? So I am putting one model which is currently under leadership of Ines Rai, National Forensic Lab. Because it's something like server and client model, and even if we need to have this forensic facility, then we can upload raw data to them and they can do the analysis and they can provide us the report. So this kind of architecture, because in 98% of the cases we are not able to use cyber forensic tool because number one, we don't have the tools. We don't have the budget, we don't have the expertise, we don't have the training. So if that is the current state of cyber forensic preparedness in India, then I request IIT and all the stakeholders, they should come on a single platform. They could create such a ecosystem where we can create a platform where this kind of model, like currently under cited, we can have and we can use, because that will be a good from cost perspective also. Definitely, no doubt, cost is major issue in government sector. It's not that we have enough budget, because we do have limited budgets, so we can promote. That's why I am saying that along with using imported tools, we can develop. Of course, standardization is a problem. We can go for the standard. We can compare it with imported tools and technology, and when it meets the criteria of worldwide standard, then we can let it go. But my suggestion is that we must support. We must at least incentivize the Indian company to go for this kind of cyber forensic tools development.
Thank you. So, Mr. Anish.
Thank you, sir. So I was listening to all the panelists, in fact, and the views that they gave. I think they were all, hitting the bullseye as far as this thing is concerned and what is our wish list. I would like to just add another perspective to that. You see, a lot of data nowadays, because we are into the era of 4G, we are stepping into 5G. So a lot of data nowadays, in fact, is not residing at the edge level, at the device level. It is now moving away into the cloud or into some servers. And our entire premise of digital forensics, it is based on the fact that data resides in the device which the criminal or the person of interest is using. So be it the logically available data or the physical data, deleted data, whatever. So our foray into forensics in the next decade or two will ultimately have to answer this question and this challenge. The data, what we get into that from the device will be probably very limited. It will be some logs of the system, some network logs, very limited information, in fact. Most of the data which will be of relevance And especially if the person, is involved in some criminal activity, he will take due precautions to ensure that the data is not available on the device. They are doing it even now. I mean, we are seeing it in 2021. By 31, definitely this is going to be a mainstream thing. So we need to look into that challenge, that how can we do forensics even when the data is residing somewhere else? Definitely we work on it, like cloud forensics is the domain which looks into that. But cloud forensics is not the mainstay of forensics presently. It will be ultimately. So cloud forensics, crypto forensics, malware definitely will be there because they will, be infecting the devices. So we will be getting some remnants of the malware on the device. So that will be there. But ultimately we have to answer this question, that how we do analytics over a data which is actually not residing on the device, but the device is the key through which the data available at the server or in the cloud can be accessed. So how do we extract the tokens? How do we do the decryption part using those tokens and other available artifacts on the device? Because ultimately we will be having the device, not the access to the cloud directly. And through the device, we have to go to the cloud-based data. So how do we do that? So that are the question. That is a question that our entrepreneurs and our startup ecosystem, I think we should look into that, because that is still a very open environment. Not many entities are into it. It is not crowded. This is where I think the opportunity lies for our startups, and they should work on it. And I would like to take a leave from the department that you headed, sir. And there used to be a lab which we used to frequent. We were not part of the department, but nevertheless, on the ground floor we used to sit. And in those days, we used to have systems of Sun Microsystems. And Sun Microsystem, it used to say that it was written on the the systems that the network is the computer. So we have come into an era where actually the network has become the computer. The device as such is no more relevant. It is the network or rather the cloud or the server which have become relevant. So for the startups, my advice will be that look for doing forensics over that system, where the device is the key, the data lies somewhere else, you do the analytics over it.
All right, so I have a lot more questions, but we are running out of time. So let's try to check a few questions here. So there are some questions about how do I have a BSc in forensic science and how do I proceed? This particular webinar is not the right one. Maybe we can do a webinar later on forensic career, paths, but let's not go into that today. So let's see, how do you get an internship, how to secure internet banking, our job opportunities in final year. So how do we expand the open source community? There is a very few non-commercial tools which provide primary baseline features. So this question may be relevant. So how can we expand the open source community in digital forensics? There are very few non-commercial tools which provide primary baseline features. Actually, as far as the kind of forensics we have done, taking images, finding the hidden files and deleted files, etc. We could do that with the open source software. So
can I answer this question?
Yeah, please.
In a very short, I know the time is running out. See, from the question itself, you should take one takeaway that people are not yet, focused on what actually forensics deals with. So cyber is not forensics. Firstly, understand this thing. Right. So in any forum you go, the questions even asked by it's not a fault of anyway. It's a capacity building which has to be done. But right. The forensic community itself is very niche. But this one question is pertinent. I want to answer this. Yes, open source tools are used and they're being widely used, and they are not been prohibited by any law globally not to use open source tools. I will tell you a few open source tools. You have various frameworks, open source framework. You have the SIFT framework, you have the SANS framework, you have a Matriarch, you have Autopsy, which is used I personally use Autopsy very frequently, and various dev tools or SANS SIFT tools. So open source tools are there. Issues are different. First, try to address what are the issues with open source tools. I'll give one simple issue, then you can know where it is banned. You can use it as a secondary measure to you can say corroborate the evidence which is there. Because in open source, it is crowdsourced tools are there. So whenever we go to court and all, where the OEM is required to actually tell how his tool performs, there you will hit a roadblock. Right, there may be some features which may not be available. Right, there you'll hit a roadblock. So open source tools, yes, they are there. They give some basic information, and especially open source tools are only for storage media forensics. You can find, or if there is any, very few or none for mobile forensics, because here R&D is required, research is required, support is required. So open source tool will be very less, or it will be a limited tool, you can say an evaluation type of a tool which will be available, and which is of literally of less relevance to your case, or means you require much more than what is required, means to do the case.
Thank you. So another question is, I don't know if this question, if I4C would be the answer to this, but what's the plan to build the cybercrime investigation department in India? Any program India government is planning? So can somebody maybe?
Yeah. So I will answer it. Like you see, first the legal position. Legal position is that in criminal investigation per se, public order, it is part of the state list of the distribution of powers or work as per the constitution. So normally any investigation, be it cybercrime or any criminal investigation, is done by the respective states. It is not the central government's domain. We have specialized entities like the Central Bureau of Investigation, National Investigating Agency, NIA. They have specific mandate under the law, and it has been agreed by the states, and they have very specific niche activities which they do. We have the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center. So as the name suggests, it is a coordination center. It has different verticals. The NCFL, which we handle, that is one of the verticals. There are other verticals of it, which look into various aspects of handling cybercrime, not directly investigation. So coordination between states, between different agencies, coordination between different stakeholders for enforcement of the ecosystem, which controls cybercrime, which assists in investigation, detection, and so on. So these are very important activities. So the states can continue with the investigation part, the detection part, but because cybercrime per se, by its very nature, they involve a lot of stakeholders, which are beyond the purview of the state. For example, we need assistance of central departments like the Ministry of Electronics and IT. We need some coordination with the Department of Telecom. So that kind of with Ministry of Foreign Affairs, if it relates to some extra jurisdictional issues. So that kind of coordination, that kind of support is provided by Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, and it is doing a fantastic job. It was created 2.5 years back, and it already has very successful initiatives like the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal, the Financial Fraud Reporting System, which has now become functional in more than 27 states and UTs. Then the National Cyber Forensic Lab, which is catering to all the states and UTs of the country, and other facilities. So it is doing its job. It is coordinating with all the states, Professor Triveni Singh Saab, myself, other people who are in law enforcement. They're witness of it, that since the coming of the I4C, in fact, we have got a platform where we can discuss our issues, we can coordinate, and the enforcement mechanisms have become much better. So now we are in fact in a concerted manner targeting organized criminal activity on the cyberspace, and it is actually having an impact, especially in the hotspot areas like Jamtara, Mewat. So definitely this is something which is going in the right direction till the law allows for it, and there is a mandate we can work under this kind of a framework. It is a very effective framework that is being developed, in fact. So this is all from my side. So.
Thank you very much. So I think we are out of time. So we could not take all the questions that were actually asked. Some of them probably can be addressed in a different seminar on the digital forensic career or cybercrime forensic career related webinar. This one was more on the technology requirements and startup and all that. So I'd like to thank Mr. Anvesh, Mr. Santosh, Mr. Triveni Singh, and Mr. Krishna and Ranjit for giving your time and your very valuable experience-based advice to us and future entrepreneurs. We hope that in a future program, if we can arrange another one on maybe forensic career, that seems to be a big interest among the questions that I saw. That majority of the questions were about how to get into it and how to what you need to do and stuff like that. So that would be an interesting one to do. So hopefully we'll do that in the near future, and I hope that we can get you back on for such a program. For now, thank you very much. And obviously, we'll if there are forensic startup proposals, we'll request you to evaluate and figure out whether these are things that are needed by the law enforcement, and and I should also thank the attendees for sticking by for so long, and hopefully it has enlightened the attendees like it did to me. And so I think it was a great webinar in my view.
Thank you, Sandeep sir. And I would like to thank each and every panelist for their valuable time sharing very, very, I think so very meaningful perspective. And thank you all participants. And I hope, we look forward for much more such, constructive webinars. And probably I'll be again inviting all of you because I think so there has been a lot of interest, as Sandeep sir said. So I would like to thank again for your valuable time. And thank you. Looking forward for another such fruitful session. Have a nice weekend, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.